So when we talk about performance in the market, we usually think about our P&L, profit and loss, and so for the trader, it's a pretty cut and dry thing. Meaning, our performance, the way we think about it and relate to it, it kind of goes like this, where if our performance is right, then the market must be good. And so what I've seen happen over the years is then the relative comparison becomes circular. Okay, so then, well, if it's a good market, then I can perform well. So we start out thinking about performance in terms of the market. Up is good, down is bad. We listen to CNBC. It was a great day in the market because it was up 200 points. Well, it's been down 500 points, and I thought it was an excellent day in the market. Thank you very much. So, but this relationship between performance and the market to the trader, it ebbs and it flows, but it tends to follow this model where we start with, I want to perform, meaning we're out to do this, right? We want to make money. And so then we approach the making of money relative to the market. So what that starts then is the journey of the trading system. Now, so the way we describe that is the Holy Grail. And if we could only find the Holy Grail of trading systems, then what that would do is it would link up now where our performance is like this little high-speed connection, right? So the Holy Grail then is going to tap into the market in some way where when the market does its dance, right, it's doing whatever it's going to do, then we're buying here, we're selling there, we turn around and we sell again and then buy back, it's like once we get to this point, we're talking about the market as if we could somehow become it, right? Meaning we're going to be in here, out there, and over and over, right? And then of course we would know better than to even get in right there, because that's just a mess. And so we would skip that altogether, sell right there, buy over. We would become it. Well, when we start here, with is our performance the market? Is the market our performance? Which of course is reinforced in CNBC. It's reinforced everywhere at the professional firms where I was at. It's 1-to-1. If the market is doing this, and I'm not in, well, the question then becomes, well, why weren't you in today? Well, because I don't have a blankety-blank crystal ball. What are you talking about? What were you doing? But even at the professional level, there's this relationship between the market and performance that exists and is ingrained. And so when we start to look at performance, there's a guy who recently, I think, said it best, and I'm not going to give him credit because I didn't write it down. I'm trying not to listen. This is not perfect. Is the problem. There we go. So what he said was, when it comes to performance, the people who are studying it don't know what they're studying, and the people who are doing it don't know what they're doing. So when we say the word performance, how are you performing? Unless we're talking about a dance or orchestra or something like that, we think about it in terms of the results, right? So, like if we're talking about computer programming, does it work? So does a computer program work? Did we make money? Did you get the sale? And so we've got this result over here that now equals performance. Well, so when we do that, if we don't get the sale, or if we don't make the money, because we've got this equal sign here, what that means is, well, okay, I didn't do so well. Well, we then begin the chase of performance. So if I'm a sales guy, I'm going to go out and get, Tommy Hopkins or Zig Ziglar, or I'm going to go to a conference or a seminar. In the market, we're going to pick up another course or another book or something like that. We're going to look to do something to increase our performance. So the way this shows up, we've got the trader, and then I can't believe I actually drew the United States. Can you tell that's the United States? All right. That is awesome. Okay, so then we've got the world. Okay. So we've got the performer, the salesman, the trader, the programmer, the doctor, the husband, the wife, right? Out here. And then we've got the world. Everything else. When we think about performance and we chop it up, generally what we're thinking is, what did I do or what did they do? Okay, so like in the selling environment, well, what did I do? Did I use the right closing technique? Am I talking to the right prospects? Do I have hot leads, warm leads, cold leads? Were they distracted? Were they just a bad customer? And we of course do this to an extent with the market, where over here the they, that just becomes the market. So the they, what did the market do today? Well, the market was really tough today. The market, the market was, it took off like a rocket. Oh, it fell like a rock. Yes, we personify it. We actually make it into something. Or we'll talk about how, I wasn't on my game today, or I wasn't paying attention, or I this or I that. So then, when we're over here, where we're not getting the money, we're not getting the sale, or in the work environment, the work isn't working out right, and then we draw this equal sign. So we're not getting the result. Performance must be down. We're going to look either here, like, okay, so what am I doing? Or we look here, okay? So when you look at performance and the study of performance, and of course Harvard has a whole division that studies performance, as they should, right? I mean, if we're going to make a serious inquiry into business in particular, and business I'm separating from pure academia, where it's just research for the sake of research, or research that doesn't have a specific money attached to it. And so I'm lumping together, if you'll allow me, business is trading, is IBM, commerce. So any serious study of commerce is going to require we look at performance. Of course, not what hopefully I'll get to is not necessarily, in other words, it's not a necessity that we look at it that way, but that's just the way it's showed up. Started 100 years ago, right before Deming, with this idea of, hey, there's a process here. Well, if we follow the right process, then we get reliable performance. And so the model works. And obviously so, we've had a huge burst of business in the last 100 years, right? There's been a lot of good results. There's a challenge, though, because that works when you look at the big picture. Like when you look into the world, we can point to the world and say, wow, the past 100 years we see these great pockets of high performance, lots of results. And so it seems to confirm that, well, that model, the process model, or the model that says the result equals performance, it works. See, look at all this great stuff we've done. What I would submit for your consideration would be, it breaks down right here. So if we would pull out individuals throughout the 100 years, of course, we're going to see a wide range of different performance. And so if we're going to graph it, and if we use the bar graph, so we had all the people as individuals here, we would see, this is just the relative performances. Some people, you might have a big group that are about the same, and you're going to have very few really high performers. Well, so then what we find when we look at that is that these high performers can essentially drive the results. And so we have guys, for example, like Jack Welch. Okay, so Jack Welch gets held up. People write books about him and say, okay, here's this. We might say his bar runs like that. And so you've got that guy, or Steve Ballmer of Microsoft. He might be another guy that's like that. Steve Jobs. And so they pointed at Steve Jobs and say, well, look, Steve Jobs is such a high performer that Apple is such a great company. Well, I'm not so sure about that, right? We haven't actually gone in and graphed and talked to, well, who actually did develop the iPhone? Was that Steve's idea or not? I don't know. I wasn't in the company. So what we have, though, is this picture, this model. It seems to be correlated, meaning it actually follows each other, meaning high performer, great results, great result then, performance. So we have this picture like it works. So, again, if we're talking about the performance then on a global scale, no, this is excruciatingly loud in the microphone. Dipping another use Final Cut. When we then come into something, we being you and I, Lou, and then of course everybody who might be watching this, well, we'll do me. Okay, so me. So now I come into a situation, and I want performance, and I don't care if it's me with my kids, me with my wife, me with my business, me with my trading. Because of this model, where in the back of my mind, there's this graph. I can just look out into the world and see it. Okay, we've got, Ballmer, Jobs, Welch, and then, there's me. Right? This little, you can't even probably see it on the video, this little blurb. Well, of course, because, look at these guys. There's $1 billion corporation. They're, every dollar in the United States GDP, a penny of it goes through a GE company at the peak of GE. Wow. What's wrong with me? And so, when it comes to the model of performance, I think we have the right thought, wrong approach. What do I mean by that? What I mean is we're starting in the right place. But we're thinking about it in the wrong way, or in a way that doesn't give us access to something that'll make a difference. Let me put it that way, because this really isn't about, well, this model's wrong and my model's right. It's about thinking about how do we access this thing called performance? How do we get to it? So what I'm running through here is the model of performance as we know it now. And there are lots of variations on the theme, but when you boil them down, you've got the relative performance, Steve Jobs, Jack Welch, Steve Ballmer, these really high performers. And so obviously they're high performers because they're getting this great result. We just fail to realize that we've created this. Well, here's performance, here's results. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? So what occurred to me throughout my years of trading is my performance is not relative to the market. What do I mean by that? Well, if we have, the price is doing this, it's going sideways. One trader might say, oh, that's a bad market. So we've got one guy who says bad. We got one guy who says, oh man, the market was great today. We have, somebody else who says, oh, nothing happened today. So when I would see this over and over, one guy's bad, one guy's great, one guy is nothing. Oh, it can't be all three of those things, because you're at one end of the spectrum and then right in the middle. So of course, we're talking about trading style, and that's kind of built in behind it. So if a guy says bad, what does it mean? Well, we go back up to our model, which says my result is equal to my performance. So bad, my performance or the market was bad, and after a while those become the same thing relative to the way I look at the market through my trading system. And I'll get to that. The next guy says, oh, the market's great. The market was nothing today. And what's behind this starts here. Okay, so the me's that are out there trading are going to say these different things. So we've got a couple of things out, well, more than a couple, but we have a couple of things operating now. We've got this model of performance where we've got some external things, the people out there in the world that we can compare ourselves to. We've got our own biases, our own definitions, our own relative comparisons, and then we've got this filter that we call the trading system. Now I'm going to leave out what I'm going to leave out of this talk is the actual trading system portion of it. Okay, so I'm not going to bring that in, because one of the things that I'm going to leave you to think about is it doesn't matter. Okay, so we'll think about that. We'll have an inquiry into that. Okay, so we've got all the me's out there, and then I'll put instead of the world, we'll call this the market. Okay. So as the trader, as I watch the market, I'm watching the market, and there's always this relative thing going on. I'm looking at the market and comparing it to something else. And I'm comparing it to, is this a bad day? Is this a good day? Is this a nothing day? Or the many shades in between. But generally speaking, we will talk about, oh, it's a good market today. This is a good trading market. This is a bad trading market. This is like the summer months. Oh, this is a bad time to trade. So we're bringing this filter that we'll put in between, or I'll call it a screen here. And so as we're looking out here, it goes through the screen and then to the market. So we have this outside thing, which is called our model of performance. And then we have what we're actually doing. So on the outside of us, this model of performance, I'll steal yet another phrase from my friend Werner, and but I'll modify it slightly. If I could spell. Oh, geez, if I could really spell. There we go. My dyslexia had me for a second. So we have this casual way of thinking about things. And the way I've experienced this is, if I'm with some friends and I'm comfortable, I'll throw out a fact as if it's true, and I don't even know it's true. I heard it somewhere, or I think it's true, or it sounded really cool. So it's this, what I'll call the casual opinion. For me, the way it shows up is when I'm in a comfortable situation. My brain isn't really turned on. I'm just kind of going with the flow. I'm having fun. I get excited. And all of a sudden, blah, 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 something comes out, and I think to myself, what the heck was that? Where am I getting that from? So as we're sitting there watching the market and we get more comfortable, I found this casual opinion showing up, and it showed up like this. So I turn on the computer screen, load up the computer, stuff is starting to go across. This is a bad day to trade. Or this is a great day to trade. Or man, this market's doing nothing. And I would increasingly find myself saying this to my trading partner. Hey, what do you think is going on today? Nothing. Well, yeah. Then it turns out to be this 250 point rise, totally straight up, that I wasn't in on. Well, then. Of course, I go from my casual opinion to, I'll directly swipe this one, my informed opinion now. Well, it's because the market did this. Well, with the model that says performance equals results, the only conclusion that I really can come to is, oh man, I screwed up. I need to rethink this. What was there, and I'll go back and maybe back test it, or go back and go bar by bar. I'll do something with now the tools I have to go try and figure out what happened right there when my trading partner called and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, this market sucks today," and it ripped up 200 points, and I knew I should have gone long. Or we've all said that in the market. I knew I should have done this or should have done that. Alright, so all of this is swimming around and dancing with this model of performance. So when we then land right back here, right? Okay, so we have me, and then over here the market will just also say that there's the system. So market and system will just lump over there for a second. Actually, a little bit longer than a second. Maybe 10 minutes or so. So when we land back here, as I said before, we're at least on the right track. The difference that will give us access to the source of performance, meaning how do we actually perform, it doesn't just start here, it is here. And it's because we have this conspiracy of things going on, this conspiracy of events. We have our casual opinion about the market. We've got our screen, which our system is part of that. How we look at, I'm a breakout trader. Oh, no, I'm a trend trader. I'm a turtle trader. I'm this or I'm that. So we have the screen now in between us and the market, right? How we filter the information. We've got our casual opinion about the market. We have our model of performance. Well, results equals performance. Money equals performance. Unfortunately, none of that will tell us, well, what's the source of performance? Because and I said I'd only briefly talk about it, because when we talk about the system that we've decided, well, if we based our system on math alone, like the high frequency guys, a lot of them take a statistical view. Well, 9 times out of 10 we're going to get this, the market's only going to move this much, and so we're only going to risk this little chunk here, we'll make up the difference on 10 million transactions. Okay, go for it. Pure math view of the market. And then, of course, you've got the indicators, George Lane, the MACD, stochastics, the CCI, all these different tools which are designed to take this price, give us a filter, the filter being, of course, the indicator itself, and that's going to tell us somehow to do something in the market. Those are, any system by definition then is, and that's the reason why I put it underneath, is not the market itself. So there have been plenty of times where our system will say, okay, yes, buy, and the market plummets. And so anybody who has a system is going to talk about, well, we don't always win, and you have to put a stop in. Okay, well, so we eventually get to the point where we say, okay, the system is not the market. The system is hopefully trying to describe the market well enough so that I can anticipate price enough to make money. The Holy Grail, of course, we talked about earlier, it would be we are the market. Right? So we are one with the market. Our system is the market. Of course, the reason why it's impossible is what I'm going to talk about now. So when we look at the market is just this. It's a bunch of me's. It's a bunch of people. Now, some people, of course, going back to the Ballmer example, some guys got this much money. Relative to them, we're like this little dot. Some guys have that much money. I mean, there's that relative comparison. But all of those people are what make up the market. All of those people then have some screen which they're filtering the market through. I don't care if you're a market maker, a bank trader, a guy who works at the Federal Reserve. Just the fact you work at the Federal Reserve puts up a filter. It's like, hey man, I work at the Fed. I know what's going on. I can do whatever the heck I want. So it's a filter. But there are times I know where the traders at the Fed got sideways in the market. Now, granted, they could make phone calls and make it right where we couldn't. But the point is, they still were not, as individuals, that, meaning the market. So all of that to say, the access that we have to performance starts here. Because we're the ones who put the filters on. We decide the system. We decide, even if it's maybe in a casual way, we still decide I'm going to have my casual opinion. Like I said, for me, the process is, well, I'm comfortable, and so I just kind of blurt it out. But then I can have an informed opinion where I've thought about it, or I've seen it, and now I'm regretting not getting in, or regretting getting in, depending on which way the market went and what my position was. But either way, I'm still the one that made it up, whether it was a casual opinion or an informed opinion. The market's going to do what it does because it's made up of a bunch of me's. All of these me's have the same influence here, meaning the system, the filter, the casual opinion, the informed opinion. So, what's the punchline? And really, this is just the beginning of this kind of inquiry, frankly. I mean, it takes a bit more to really dig into it, but it's something worth thinking of and thinking about. So, when we're thinking about me, we have information coming like this, right? Coming in. As traders, we've probably experienced this, where we've said the market is good. We've probably experienced where we've said, oh, this is bad. Meaning before we ever got in. We were not in a position, we're looking at the market, and we're saying this. So the other term that I'll swipe is, so the way the market now is occurring for us, the way it's showing up for us is bad or good or nothing or some sort of judgment about the market. The judgment about the market has no bearing in our experience. We've seen this, or we've just been totally wrong. So our judgment has nothing to do with our market, with the market itself. But it is how the market occurs to us. So when we're talking about performance, and we do that and still admit that, well, performance is about action. I mean, we live in a world of action. We have to go do something and then we get money. Whether it's business or trading, we're out there in the world doing something. So then we circle back to, well, if performance is in the doing, what affects the doing? And that's where it lies right here, with me. But in a very specific way. When we understand this, how our casual opinion, how our informed opinion, what we judge about the market, can you see how it's just cluttered? Yeah. I mean, we've got all of this stuff, even if all we had on the screen was price, the reality of it is all of this is still in the background. Now, for some of us, it comes in the foreground, where we're able to at least understand some of the concepts. So the source then, get to the punchline. How do we get to the source? How do we have access to the source of performance? And so performance meaning how do we act in some way? How do we do something that we want versus either not doing something at all or doing something that we don't want? Well, first of all, we can recognize, even if there's nothing on our chart, we've got a very cluttered internal computer, internal trading screen. What gives us access, and I'll swipe you in something else, and I'll do a little demonstration. So yeah, I'll do it. Lou, ready? Okay. So I'm gonna throw this at you. Okay. All right. Throw it back. Now they couldn't see it on the screen, so you went like this, right? Because I tossed it like that, right? So you ready? Now if I do this, okay, now the hands come up like that. So the way reality occurred to you, I gave you some prep. My hand was down here, and I'm bringing it up. So reality occurred to you in a way I was like, okay, I can just hold my hands out and catch this thing. Well, now crazy man is doing this. My eyes got a little bit big. Instantly, the hands are up. Well, it's because the reality was occurring to you in a different way. Now, could I not have went like this and then just thrown, or even come up fast and just, sure. But our brains are designed in a way to protect us from that. See, if I'm going to chuck this at you, the last thing you want to do is the calculus of how fast my arm is moving relative to how far away you are. I mean, you just don't want any of that business. You want to know, okay, I'm not going to get smacked in the face with this thing. That's a good thing, because we live in a world with lots of sharp stuff in it. And, lots of stuff running around. We were just talking earlier about the snakes, right? There's stuff. At the same time, it doesn't always serve us. This isn't an evolutionary thing, whether it developed or not isn't the issue. The reality is, it is. And so we've got this machine that has this information in it. If we're going to access the source, what's required is understanding and thinking about, is this stuff me or not? So is it literally you, who you are as a being, in some genetic or inherent way that you can't overcome whether I'm doing this or I'm doing that? Well, look at a professional baseball player. Right? I bet when they were a kid and their dad's throwing the ball, he threw it like this. He didn't have a pitching machine going 90 miles an hour. But you put me in front of a professional baseball player, even with all the gear on, I'm probably going to flinch a little bit because this guy's throwing a ball that could hurt. Whereas, the pro's like, all right, get out of the way. And he's just catching it, chewing gum, talking about whatever. Because he's been able to distinguish and separate now that same from who he is. So by being able to get that this stuff, yes, it's part of the machinery, right? Part of the machinery that protects me from something flying in my face or falling off of a roof. Because it's part of our machinery, the simple act of distinguishing it as separate unlocks the choice of the professional baseball player. Now, in a different setting, so if he's in a bar and someone goes at with the ball, you know what, he may do that. Well, because he's not in the same setting. He doesn't have his gear, it's not on the baseball field, so he doesn't have the same distinction. I'm not on the diamond, I'm in the bar. But what's different? Well, really nothing. Somebody's throwing a ball and he's catching a ball. He does that for a living. What's changed is the way it occurs for him. Just like this, the way the market occurs for us, bad, good, nothing, can be part of our casual opinion or later on an informed opinion. It can be something that we pass through this filter. But if none of that is the market, whether it's our system or our casual opinion or later on our informed opinion, none of that actually makes up the market, then how do we access the market? How do we trade the market? We were just talking earlier where it's, why did you go long? And it's, what do you see? I'm not seeing that. We're trading the same system. Well, are you wrong? Am I wrong? Well, whether it's wrong or right, it's who's accessing the market. When you look at especially pit traders, like at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they're in the S&P pit. What you see most often with the high performers there from a dollar amount, right? So their profit and loss performance is, one of the relative comparisons there is huge bar. Those are the guys, when they come into the market and you ask them on their top days, like, I didn't really expect anything to happen. So then when they walk into the pit, what shows up for them literally is what shows up. Now, Mark Douglas talked about this, where some of his clients, in fact, one of his guys had a knockdown, drag-out fight with the wife, throwing stuff around, kicks the dog, slaps the kid, and then goes into the trading pit and loses $500,000. Well, why is that? Well, is it because, some kind of neurobiology? Is it because he didn't NLP himself before he walked in? You could say that. The limitation of those definitions, it doesn't give him a source to his performance. Then he's got to do the NLP right. Then he's got to, maybe he has to take something so his neurobiology gets straight. Or is it something else? Is there a way, in spite of not doing NLP right, or in spite of neurobiology, is there a being where we can still have that experience and then step into the market and see it for what it is? Well, there is, through experiencing the knockdown drag-out and then coming into the market and realizing that the way life is showing up for me, number one, doesn't have anything to do with these people out here who are the market. And it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening now. But what inevitably happens throughout, and this starts all the way back in childhood, I literally can see it now with my kids. They'll have a very powerful experience, and they say, oh, this is who I am. This is the way I should act. And over time, it becomes their way of being. There's no way to separate, at least for the moment, with my 5-year-old from being a pleaser. So if his brother's getting spanking and getting in trouble, Joshua's like, oh, Daddy, I love you. You're the greatest daddy in the world. And it happened at a single event. And he wasn't even involved. And it wasn't even like this earth-shattering thing. Something happened, something fell. People are yelling, and all of a sudden I could see it. Boom. He then walked around. I was like, oh, I love you, Daddy. You're so great. Oh, Mommy, you're wonderful. There's a here now is this person being formed. By realizing that really isn't who he is. He made a decision when he was 3 years, 9 months. That now he's 5 years old now. And he still does it. And I guarantee when he's 18, without being able to, so that's for him, that's this stuff. Without being able now to say, oh, okay, the plate dropped and this happened. Oh, wow, yeah. That's why I decided to do that. So it's said in a simple way, and then I'll end. It's when we can still have the opinion. It's when we can still hear somebody or say to ourselves, oh, this is bad, this is good. When we have our system, when we can say all that and create some space, we now have access to a way of being that is a choice. And so it's not, yes, there are vehicles that can help. I've studied NLP. It can help. Neurobiology, we can feed ourselves the right way, take supplements, and that helps. To get to the source of performance, though, without separating this, we're still bringing all of that with us, no matter what system we get. I mean, you and I have both seen that. You have this system that works just fine for other people, or other people are getting a good result with it. Oh man, I suck. That's then now we start doing this about ourselves. Oh, well, I must just be a bad trader. Casey, in the interview I did, she said that. Well, I guess I'm just not cut out for it. So when something shifts and we're able to distinguish, make a distinction between this clutter and us, so I've got the box around us. That's what creates the space. It's what gives us access then to the source of performance. To actually see then, oh yeah, well, there is a pattern there. Oh, I never saw that before. Or what we've done, the market takes off and we look back, it was there, why didn't I see it? Because otherwise this now comes with us and defines the way we are with the market. That's it. That's the punchline. At least for now. All right. So we'll turn this off and get going. Are you